Welcome to RickRackRuby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Do you have a collection of vintage laces just waiting for the right project? How about some heirloom lace Christmas angels? They're fun and easy, so pull out your lace and let's get started. First, let's look at some lace. This is a vintage filet lace. It's about 3 3/4 inches wide. It's straight on both of the edges. It has a stain here and a stain here. There's a little bit of damage. And it also has a very strong motif here. So what I think I'm going to do is make this the center front, and then I'll cut it here. So I think I'll make this the top. I'll add a little scallop at the bottom and then cut it off here, and then this will be the dress. So that's the first one. This is as found. It's hemmed on both edges, and then it has a stain on one side. I think this is going to be just perfect as is, and it'll make something much more delicate than the first one. This will be sweet. And then I have, again, as found, 6 1/2 inches wide. It's about 11 inches long, and I'm going to use this also as is. So let's try to make 3 vintage lace angels. I have my glue gun, I have my sewing machine, I'm ready to go. I'm matching up the motif here. And we'll save this for something else. Then I'll carefully sew this to the bottom. There's the lace at the bottom, and now I'll fold it over and stitch up the back seam. If you missed out on the instructions for the faces, I have a video called Focus on Faces where you can learn to make these. 2 lengths of tulle tied off in the center. That's 6-inch wide tulle, of course. Then the ribbons go through the head bead from the bottom. Then I'll slide that tulle up through the hole, see, and then back down again. I'm going to add a little drop of glue and then slide that head on so that it is nice and secure and glued inside the hole. And then I'll tie off the ribbon. Now I'll gather up the top edge of the dress by hand with a nice long needle and a double strand of quilting thread. I start by securing the thread at the back seam. I secure it in the seam allowance there, and then I'm just going to stitch around it. I have a nice wide, not wide, but I have a nice header at the top of this lace, so I'm just going to stitch through this header. Put the angel inside, and pull it up, gather it up. Remember, I want to center this motif underneath her chin. I'm going to wrap nice and tight and then secure by going through from back to front. And then front to back. And then I'm going to knot it off in the back. Let's have a look. This motif is nicely centered. The tulle fills the dress well, and I'll just trim that out. I like when a little bit of the tulle shows like a slip. And if you get too close, you might trim your lace, so just leave a little bit. Now she's going to get her lace collar. I like when there's a contrast between the dress and the collar, so I chose this bright white to contrast against her off-white dress. I'll just gather that up. This is about 18 inches of lace. I gathered up the lace to form a collar around her neck and I tied it off in the back. Next, I'd like to add a little decoration to her throat. I have a box full of items to choose from. I think I'll just use this lace flower motif. I like the contrast of color. It's kind of a taupe color. I'm going to put that right there underneath her chin. And then I'm going to add a bow here. I think these loops should be a little bit longer. There we go. Now for the hair. I've chosen kind of a fuzzy hair today. I'm going to wrap like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I feel like that might be too much, but let's give it a try. Then I'm tying it off in the center. And I'll hot glue this bundle to the back of her head. I'll just glue the center of the bundle right behind the ribbon. And then kind of press those loops into the glue. I just applied a lot of hot glue to the back of her head. Then I added a little more glue to the side. Press that in. This side looks okay. I can just tell that 6 loops on each side is going to be too thick for the front. Let's just do 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm tying it off in the center. I think this will be right. I'm going to hot glue the center of this bundle right in front of the hanging loop. And then twist and press. Twist and press. So I'm going to get some glue on either side so I have something to press into. Twist and press. Nice. Twist and press. Cute. Now her halo. This looks like 2.5 inches of 20 gauge gold wire. I'm wrapping it around my thimble to form a circle. Then I'll apply some glue to the ends of the wire. Press the ends of the wire into the sides of her head, kind of like a headband to form a halo. That looks great. Now I've already prepared some wings. I cut these out with my die cutting machine. This one looks good. Or maybe this one. Or this one. I'm gonna go with this one. This is a 4.5 inch scalloped circle that I cut out with my die cutting machine, and then I folded it in half and zigzag stitched around the edge. And she's done. Let's get started on the next one. See, this is quick and easy. I'm going to fold this in half with the right sides together and stitch the back seam. I trimmed off the seam allowance that had that brown stain. And now I'll turn it right side out. Even though this lace is about the same width as the previous project, since the lace is more delicate and it's going to come in a little bit more tightly on the neck, I think I'm going to use a smaller size head. So I have my dress, my ribbon, and 2 lengths of tulle. I'll fold over, tie off in the center, and draw this through the head bead from the bottom out the top, and then I'm going to gather this up by hand, beginning in the back. I'll gather this up. This lace also has a nice header for me to sew through. So I'm going to pull these gathers tight around her neck, try to get that seam centered in the back, wrap a couple of times, and then stitch through to secure, and then tie it off in the back. I'm trying to decide if I want to use the same lace from the last project or this more delicate lace, which does not offer a strong contrast. I've decided to go with this more delicate lace for her collar, just because she's smaller and her lace is a little bit more delicate. I'll place this little ruffle around her neck and tie it off. But before I cut off my thread, I think I'd like to add a button. I've decided to go with this mother of pearl 4-hole shirt button. They're easy to find. If you don't already have a button collection, don't worry, you can find them everywhere. And then instead of a bow, I think I'll just do a couple of streamers. So I'll just cut this, fold it in half, add a spot of glue, and then tuck it up underneath there. There we go, pretty. Now for her hair, I'll use this same yarn. I'm going to try just 3 loops. You know what's next. Here's the wire for her halo. Wrap it around the thimble to shape it. Now let's choose some wings. Let's use this one. There are her wings glued to the back of her head. And she joins her sister. You can see how even though these are about the same length, since this one was thinner, more delicate, it gathered up more tightly, and this size head worked. I think that's a 16mm. Much smaller wings, but it's just as cute. All right, so here's our last one. Even though this is wider, it's not too long. So we're going to wind up with a sort of a long and skinny shape, which is great. It's going to be adorable. Seam up the back and then turn it right side out. I'm going to use a little bit bigger head bead. Now I'll gather this up. I just want to be sure that I like the scale of the size of the head to the length of the dress, and I think it's good. I think this would be too small, so we'll leave it this size. I think this is a 25mm head bead. I'll go back to the white lace for her collar. And because this angel is a little bit longer and their lace is a little bit stronger, I'm going to add a larger motif. I have a couple of options. I have this sequin trim, which is one of my favorites, or I have these little round motifs. This just blends into the collar, so I'll use this. Here's her bow, and here's her little decoration. Sometimes I glue the bow under the lace, and sometimes I glue it on top. Either way is fine. There we go. Just to make this one a little bit different, I'm going to use the index card wig technique, for lack of a better term. I took a standard index card, folded it in half, and I'm going to wrap the card with the yarn, maybe 20 times. Let's make that 25 times. The folded in half index card is covered with yarn, and I'm going to stitch with my machine back and forth right down the center. I went back and forth, and it's important to understand that this is not her part. It's easy to think that this would be right down the center, but it's not. This goes across like this. I've taken the card out, and now I have this little wig. I'm going to glue this, the center, right in the center of her head in front of the hanging loop. So I'll apply some glue right here, and then press the center of this little wig right into that glue. Then I'll continue applying glue down the side of her head and then around to the back of her neck on one side. And then the other side, get that hanging loop out of the way. This side's a little bit shorter, but it doesn't matter because you can kind of stretch it. Ha! Lovely, right? But no, look, we're going to pull this back now and tie it up at the top so she'll have a lovely little bun. See? Since I already have this double strand of thread in my needle, I'm just going to use this. I'm going to wrap it, and tie it. I'm going to tie it in the front because I can glue a little flower or a bow or something right there, and that'll help to secure the knot. Now she'll have a different kind of a halo. This is what I call the lollipop. This is 5 inches of wire, fold it in half, twist the ends together, then open this up into a circle like this, kind of like a lollipop, and then bend this down so it's at an angle like this. And this will be glued right into her hairstyle. There we go. So her halo is like this. Let's use this one for her wings. I'm gluing the back of her head to the top center of the wing piece. And then right here, I need some kind of a decoration. Let's see. Do a little flower. I don't want to drive myself crazy going through 900 options. So let's just stick with the classic. It's a ribbon rose. And she's done. Let's look at all three of our angels. Which one is your favorite? Thank you for watching my videos. If you have enjoyed my tutorials, I would appreciate it very much if you would subscribe, like, and share.